12 Angry Men is a unique movie because it manages to be extremely well written despite avoiding some traditional storytelling rules. Most of the story takes place in one location. The entire story is primarily dialogue. There are a little over 12 characters in total. There aren't any character arcs. So how does a story about jury duty that happens in one location manage to be excellent? I believe it has to do with how the plot was divided. The plot is one long debate between 12 characters. Juror 8, the architect, believes that there's a reasonable doubt surrounding the murder, but everyone else believes the boy is guilty. The vote has to be unanimous, so his goal is to convince the other 11 that there's a chance that the boy didn't commit the crime. The quest is divided into individual battles over pieces of evidence. In each battle, the architect and his growing allies prove that there's a strong possibility that the evidence is inaccurate. After each battle, the victory is rewarded with another juror changing their vote to not guilty. This creates a sense of progress and lets the viewers know that the story is approaching the end. Once all 12 vote not guilty, the story is complete. There are 8 battles in total. At the beginning of Act 2, many of the jurors take time to explain why they think the boy is guilty. This is a clever way of delivering exposition about the case. All of the evidence that's laid out is eventually debated about in battles. Battle 1 is about how unique the knife is. This ends with the architect taking a gamble, saying that he'll switch to guilty if everyone else is in agreement. The elderly man switches his vote, making 2 not guilty, continuing the battle. Battle 2 is about the L train. Battle 3 is about the phrase, "I'm gonna kill you." It ends with 3 not guilty votes. Battle 4 is about the boy returning to the crime scene. 4 votes. Battle 5 is about the old man reaching the door in time to see the boy. 6 votes. Battle 6 is about the boy not remembering the movie he saw. Battle 7 is about the stab wound. 9 votes. Battle 8 is about the woman's testimony. This gains 12 not guilty votes, ending the debate. Characters just debating could potentially get boring, so the story adds some flair to some of its victories. Instead of just arguing using logic and evidence, sometimes the characters will do an action that makes the scene more memorable. In Battle 1, when the opponents are saying that the knife is too unique for someone else to have, the architect pulls out an identical knife and stabs it into the table, shocking the jury. By explaining that he found it easily and for cheap, he dramatically increased the probability of someone stabbing the father with the same knife. The physical and visual demonstration made his victory more exciting. In Battle 5, the architect believes that the old man with a limp couldn't have made it to the door in 15 seconds, as he said, so he tests it out. Using an exact diagram to measure the distance in the room, he acts out the scene while being timed. It took 41 seconds, over double the time the old man said. Acting it out made his point significantly stronger. Even though the battle about "I'm gonna kill you" already ended, the architect put salt in the wound to further prove his point. After learning that the hothead is one of the executioners, he baits him by calling him a sadist, leading to the hothead saying "I'm gonna kill you," even though he didn't mean it literally. Once again, the physical demonstration of his point creates a memorable scene. In Battle 6, the broker says he'd remember the movies he saw if he was in the same situation, so the architect presses him. He asks about what he did yesterday and the day before that. When he gets to movies, the architect asks him about specific details until the broker proves that he couldn't remember, despite not being under emotional stress. Finally, in Battle 7, Hothead demonstrates how he believes the stab wound would have been made. But Baltimore, a man who's actually seen knife fights, demonstrates that it would have been done another way, especially if the boy was experienced. Another thing the movie does is provide small victories with witty counters. A character will say something, and then another character will counter it using the first person's own logic against them. This results in the first person backing down. When the sports fan complains about wasting time, the architect counters by saying his ball game doesn't start until 8, so they still have time. When the bigot says that you can't trust the boy because of his background, the architect asks why he trusts the woman when she's from the same background. When the ad man is saying the witness couldn't be wrong, the architect presses him until the former admits that it's not an exact science, proving the latter's point that they could be wrong. At the end of Battle 1, the sports fan complains about potentially getting sore throats from arguing all day. The architect counters by saying, "What difference does it make if you get it here or at the ball game?" Soon after, the architect faces his first counter. He tells the tough guy, "Suppose you were in his position," but the tough guy counters, "Suppose you talk us out of this and the kid really did kill his father." At the end of Battle 4, the hothead picks up the knife, saying that the boy stabbed his father with it, but the elderly man points out that he grabbed the architect's copy, not the actual one, proving that he couldn't tell the difference. In Battle 5, the hothead is defending the old man's testimony and says 20 seconds. The others point out that it was actually 15, so the hothead says how could he be positive about anything to defend his 20 seconds, but it weakens his own argument. The architect baiting the hothead was also a witty counter that doubled as a flair victory. The architect questioning the broker on the movies could also serve as the witty counter. Finally, in Battle 8, the hothead says you can throw out all the other evidence. Once his last ally is converted, he says what about all the other evidence, but the meek man points out his contradiction. These small verbal wins add incremental progress and show how clever the writing is. The last strong point of the story is how character development is weaved into the arguments presented. Sometimes, background or profession is what influences the character's decisions. Juror 3, the hothead, had a falling out with his son and is one of the executioners, which is why he wants a guilty verdict. He's taking his anger out on the boy. Juror 4 is the stockbroker, which is why he cares about facts and probabilities. Juror 5 is from the slums, which is why he knew how a switchblade would be used. Juror 7 had a baseball game, which is why he wanted to leave as soon as possible. Juror 9 is an elderly man, which is why he understood how the old man might have tricked himself into seeing something to be relevant. Juror 10 is a bigot, which is why he personally doesn't like the kid and says guilty. 12 Angry Men sets his entire plot in a jury debate and keeps it entertaining with frequent battles over evidence that score incremental victories, adding flair to how some of the battles are won, including witty counters, and fusing character development into the actions characters take.